Ubisoft is on the verge of a total collapse. Their stock price has fallen almost 90% since 2021. Their last three major titles have all been complete flops, with Star Wars Outlaws selling just 1 million copies in a month, millions less than Ubisoft's original expectations for the game. And now the next Assassin's Creed, a game that should have been out in a month, but instead got delayed until next year, looks like it's headed for disaster. Every single thing seems to be going wrong for Ubisoft, and it seems like there's only one way out. But what is it? Let's find out. Ubisoft is honestly probably considered one of the pillars of gaming. They've been around for years, and they're responsible for some of the most recognizable franchises in gaming history. Everybody knows Assassin's Creed, everybody knows Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six, everybody knows Splinter Cell, everybody knows that they're capable of putting out some quality games. The problem is that they don't seem to know how to do that anymore. At some point along the way, this studio became so unbelievably bloated that they just lost their way when it comes to game development. All they know how to do is spend money, put out garbage, and release 7 out of 10s that nobody actually really cares about. Let me break this down for you real quick, all right, people? Ubisoft currently employs over 20,000 people. 20,000 people spread across something like 40 development studios or something that are all cranking out random mobile games, Skull and Bones, Division spin-offs, Assassin's Creed spin-offs, apparently working on Splinter Cell in Toronto, but who knows if that'll ever come out. Everybody was waiting, but what the hell's going on? But the point is that they've got too many people spread too thin, cranking out stuff or working on, or just honestly, everybody compiling on Skull and Bones, which is a bad idea anyway. But the point I'm trying to make here is that they have 20,000 people and their output is garbage. Meanwhile, when you look at a company like, I don't know, Nintendo, which employs something like 7,500 people, and not only do they make some of the most incredible and just well-respected games ever released, but they're also responsible for handling the literal biggest selling console in almost history. So they're able to do that with 7,500 people, but with 20,000 people, Ubisoft is barely able to make a game that they've already made 14 of, and now they seem to not know how to make the 15th version? Like, what is going on here? And it all kind of comes back to the leadership at the top. Yves Guillemot clearly is unfit to lead this company, and it seems like Tencent knows that. Let me talk to you about Tencent for a second. The reason right now that Ubisoft's stock price is on its way creeping back up from an abysmal like $9 per share is that Tencent has expressed interest in acquiring Ubisoft. They want to take the reins away from the French and say, we know what to do here. We know how to turn this into a money-making machine. And yeah, we're probably going to do that by monetizing the hell out of every single game and every single franchise that you actually like here, but we're going to make it make dollars. Maybe they won't be good games, but the games already aren't good. And that should be my segue to say, I do not like Ubisoft games. I think there was a point in time where Ubisoft was making literal banger after banger, and everything they made was awesome. It's been a long time since they've done that. Honestly, since probably Assassin's Creed 2. That was a long time ago. I think the best game that Ubisoft has made in the last 10 years is The Division. And other than that, it's like a copy and paste of Far Cry, a copy and a paste of Assassin's Creed, a copy and paste of who knows what the hell. But it hasn't been good. And now when there's potential that there are good games on the horizon, like a remake of Splinter Cell, which if they do it correctly with actual good AI, the AI that obviously wasn't present in Star Wars Outlaws, they could have a potential bestseller on their hands. But now it seems like that game is having tons of problems and may or may not even come out. Nobody really knows. And that's the issue with Ubisoft, is that they don't seem to know how to do anything properly. They have these mega franchises that for some reason a lot of people love, but they don't seem to know how to treat them with any respect. Assassin's Creed, they want to shove it down your throat and make sure that you cannot get Assassin's Creed off your freaking minds. Meanwhile, these games are like 100 hours long, so how much time do they think you have when they're just constantly slamming 100-hour games in your face? And besides that, these games are not good enough to demand 100 hours of your attention. They're an absolute drag. They're filled with nonsense and bloat. It's literally designed to basically maximize your time in the game for no reason. Assassin's Creed hasn't been good in years, and Assassin's Creed Mirage is an absolutely poor attempt at trying to reel in the original fans of the franchise. Assassin's Creed Mirage was a failed game. I'll say it, it's a failed game. That game was not good. The AI was a disaster. The story was not good. The parkour, you had something really high tier with Assassin's Creed Unity, and every game after that has just been like, Like, what are you doing? Get your head out of your asses, Ubisoft. Stop making garbage. And then they try and come out with Division Heartland, the multiplayer new Division game. I was part of that alpha. I'm allowed to say that now because the game's canceled. It was bad. There's a reason why it was canceled. I know a lot of people were excited for it. A lot of people wanted to get their hands on the game early. They were excited about, oh my God, this new version of Division. It's gonna be crazy. There's gonna be so much going on, blah, blah. Bad game. It was canceled for a reason. Canceled because it's bad. Skull and Bones, bad game. Only came out because they had this deal with Singapore where if they don't release the game, they owe Singapore like $100 bazillion or whatever. So now they released this piece of crap and it's a failed game. Star Wars Outlaws, a game that Ubisoft thought would sell literally 10 million plus copies and instead barely sold one. And it's because the game just isn't very good. It's a poor attempt at copying Uncharted. If this game was made by literally any other studio, yeah, it would have sold millions of copies. But because Ubisoft's on it, and because they don't seem to know what they're doing, and the game has terrible AI, terrible mission structure, just slow and plodding half the time, a lot of very strange design choices, it's just not very good. It's at best a 7.5. At best. Sure, it has moments of greatness, but they are few and far between, and that's not enough to carry the entire game, and that's not enough to break through all the noise of the bad reviews, the bad comments on YouTube, the bad presentations of the game, the strange design choice for the main character. It's just not enough. People are not interested in that. People want a good game. And then now you bring it to Assassin's Creed Shadows. What are you doing with this game? What are you doing? Assassin's Creed Shadows has been something that fans of Assassin's Creed have wanted since literally the very first Assassin's Creed. Everyone has wanted to play Assassin's Creed in Japan. And of course, obviously it took Sucker Punch, a completely different studio, to release Ghost of Tsushima to give us the Assassin's Creed in Japan that we've always wanted, while also being the best Assassin's Creed game ever released, because of course, Ubisoft can't pull that off. Obviously. And now their attempt at making an Assassin's Creed in Japan, instead of giving us an actual Japanese story, they're making it about Yasuke, the Black Samurai, which is a very obviously cool and unique story. But why? Why take this approach? Obviously, because they want people to be like, oh my God, they're trying to be diverse. That's great and all, but fans didn't want this. And it seems very clear that nobody wants this considering all the controversy surrounding this game. They had so many opportunities to literally tell a story about any Japanese person, and they choose the one black person in Japan to tell a story about. I mean, they say they're not trying to, appeal to any group here or whatever, and that's fine, but this is the game that you want to make? It's just a strange design choice. It's a very strange story narrative choice. I don't know what they're doing. I don't know why they're doing that. And not only that, but this game seems to have a billion problems. Everything is going wrong with it. And it seems like now, especially with them canceling the early access and canceling the season pass, it's like they're going to be working on this game until the day it releases to ensure that it actually runs properly. What are you doing, man? And this game was supposed to come out next month, by the way. Just imagine the state that this game would have been in if it came out next month. It would have been a disaster. And it's taken several failures for Ubisoft to realize that they can no longer release games in absolutely garbage states and fix them over the course of the next few months. They need to release games that actually work on release and that are playable day one, not buggy, not broken, not with garbage AI, and not needing several patches. It's taken them this long to realize that people don't want to pay for garbage and then just wait as long as they can to be able to play it in a better state. People never wanted that. People want to buy a product that's ready and that they can actually play without any problems. Assassin's Creed Shadows isn't going to fix your problems, Ubisoft, I'm sorry to say. It's really not. By pushing this narrative angle, by covering Yasuke, which is a cool story, but they're really pushing it with the crowd that doesn't like this. This anti-DI crowd, Sweet Baby Inc. crowd that is absolutely not going to buy your game and is going to do everything they can to influence people to not buy your game. You think Asmongold is not telling his audience to avoid this game like the plague and his audience isn't eating that up? You're done for. This was a bad move, Ubisoft. I don't know what they were thinking with this. I get wanting to appeal to a different crowd and telling a different story, a unique story from a new perspective. That's cool and all, but not here. Not with a game that you need to appeal to the most amount of people possible and sell the most amount of copies possible. You're making bad game after bad game. X-Defiant is a failure. Skull and Bones is a failure. The Avatar game didn't sell nearly enough copies. Assassin's Creed Mirage didn't sell nearly enough copies. Assassin's Creed Shadows, probably not gonna sell nearly enough copies that you need to make the money that you need to make. Ubisoft is headed for a complete collapse. And their only way out right now seems like if Tencent actually buys them or if Xbox buys them. That's literally it. In order to be able to sustain their current output, which is obviously not a good output, which they need to change, they need to rethink their business strategy, Ubisoft needs to cut 15,000 people from their staff. Like, you think it's crazy the amount of firings that have happened so far in the games industry this year? Ubisoft is about to double that number. Not about to, but they probably have to double that number by cutting legitimately 75% of their entire staff if they want to stick around and if they want to keep making games. And they need to rethink their focus, and they need to understand that they should make one Assassin's Creed game every 3 to 5 years, one Far Cry game every 3 to 5 years, one Division game every 3 to 5 years, and then a multiplayer Rainbow Six game. Not X-Defiant, a Call of Duty clone that just is not good, not Skull and Bones, which is garbage, not an Assassin's Creed 4 remake, you know? Take Splinter Cell in a new exciting direction, not even a new exciting direction. Take Splinter Cell into the direction it originally was and make it the best stealth game ever. Just do that. You'll make people happy. But of course they can't. Of course they'll make it garbage and nonsense, because that's what Ubisoft does. Ubisoft has failed us over and over again. Do I want Ubisoft to succeed? Of course, absolutely. I think Ubisoft has massive potential. They just need to rethink their entire strategy and rethink the way they make games and change their focus completely. Figure it out, Ubisoft. Do better.